Hello everybody, thank you for watching the Brotherhood of Gaming Video Game Show. I'm William Morris, the host, the leader, the big man, you know. Anyway, a lot of you have been expressing interest in how the Tales of Retrospective is coming along, and of course, while in the meantime we are working heavily on it and many other projects, we thought we'd take the time to make this video to answer some questions that quite a few of you have been asking us. So with that, here's the first question and here's the first answer. Now, the Tales of Retrospective is coming along just fine. We have gone through a lot of footage, there's a lot of research involved, and yeah, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know, and it probably doesn't, it goes without saying that to do a retrospective to this depth takes a lot of research, takes a lot of time, takes a lot of editing, and unfortunately, we are really kind of a team of one, really, where we don't have a whole unit to work on these. We kind of have to do it all ourselves. That means it takes a lot longer to do. Very similar to the translation patches that Absolute Zero Productions and all those guys do. It takes a serious amount of time. However, probably not as long as translating a game, but it's still it does take quite a long time to make sure that the information is as accurate as possible. Otherwise, then you could have a whole bunch of mess ups, and then people are calling you out on it, and then it's a mess for everybody, and then it's an unfaithful retrospective. But that being said, it is coming along great. We are getting episodes out soon. One of the drawbacks was coming from how to present them, because unfortunately, even though a lot of you have been supporting the show, the videos might be too long. And by that I mean, not everybody has the time to sit through a long episode, be it 20 minutes or 30 or even over an hour, which sometimes these episodes have gone on for. And what happens, according to YouTube, is when people don't watch a video as a whole, YouTube kind of thinks that it's a bad video and deems it less watchable and makes it harder to find, and in turn makes our channel harder to find, and that ultimately doesn't do good for anybody. So we're trying to find a way to make the episodes shorter while trying to come up with segues to end an episode off while leading into the next one, but at the same time getting all of the information out there. And that in itself is also really hard to do, simply because how the writing goes and the in-depth information. So there's really a balancing act. So that being said, we are working hard on the retrospective. You can definitely count on it coming out soon, sooner than you might think, actually. We just want to thank you guys for the patience and the loyal fans who have been following the retrospective, and yeah, just keep looking forward to it. Keep bugging us about it. That actually helps us work on it faster, so. A lot of you know that in terms of the retrospective story arc right now, we've currently led up to Tales of Destiny, which was the next game in the franchise. And you've asked whether we're going to use the Tales of Destiny remake that was released only in Japan on the PlayStation 2, as well as the Director's Cut version, or are we going to stick with the original PlayStation 1 version that was made back in 1997. We're going to stick with the original. Granted, by today's standards, Namco doesn't really consider that one canon anymore, because in the remake they kind of refined the story a little bit, made it better, added more scenarios and more character development, which honestly I think was necessary, but ultimately that one didn't get localized. So while we do have a pretty good idea of what's going on, because we have the games, it'd probably be better to stick with the original, because that's the one that everybody's familiar with. That was the first game that America got, and that was the first one that everybody saw. It wasn't the first Tales experience in America, but it was the first physical game. So it'd be better for everybody to stick with the original, since that's the one that everybody knows. But we do, and we will be talking about the remake in-depthly in the retrospective. We will talk about its production, its remake value, the stuff that was added, what it did better than the original. Because in our opinion, we think that the remake is a far superior game to the original, by far. But in terms of story and sharing it out there, we think it'd be best to stick with the classic and the original. Now, of course, there's been quite a few of you that have been asking, are we going to do a retrospective on the games that didn't come to America? Now, I think it kind of goes without saying at this point, because when it comes to a retrospective, you generally want to cover every single thing that happens in that series. You don't just cover certain aspects, because in short, that's kind of a short review, not really a retrospective. So, yes, we will be covering every single Tales game in the entire franchise, whether it be localized or not. You know, if it comes down to it, if that's our only option, we might. Granted, they haven't been localized, a lot of you know that. But if we do our best to try to find as many sources and as much as we can to find and make sure that we got the true story. But if a fan translation or any translation is all we can find, then yeah, we will go to it, but we'll fully admit what it is, because they'll try to be as faithful as we can. And let's be honest, fan translations usually aren't that far off from the actual translation that that what we get on our American versions. Like, I think even our Fantasia one was pretty close. And I even think that Bandai Namco even used some bits from the fan translations in their official ones. So I gotta give the fans a lot of leeway that when they translate a Tales game, or any game for that matter, they put all of their heart into it. So I wouldn't rule it out as being a possibility of us using a fan translation if there's one out there. But first and foremost, yeah, while we do look at the fan translations and we will go to it, we also try to find as many original source materials as we can in order to make sure that we're getting the accurate information. So it's definitely a possibility should it come down to it. Tales of Zestiria, the newest one, not out in America yet, but it soon will be. Of course. I mean, this is the Tales of Retrospective after all, so naturally Tales of Zestiria is under that market, so it'll take a while, but eventually we'll get to it. So you can definitely count on Tales of Zestiria having a retrospective episode. Of course, if it comes out before that, like Tales of Hearts R and Tales of Exilia 2, you can count on there being a review for that game separate from the retrospective, so of course we're paying attention to it. So, of course. It is no secret that there have been some glitches in Tales games, which in certain parts of the country have been reportedly worse. Some might even had to have total recalls. But it was part of history. If it's in the game, if we consider it to be worthy notable, then yes, we will go out of our way to talk about and mention them and how it affected the game and the influence it had on the audience. However, not every glitch is totally worth noting. Like, for example, even though I'm not saying this won't get mentioned or not, or whether it will or not, but for example, in Tales of Eternia, in the sushi challenge, one of the mini games, if you hold down triangle or select or something, upon losing, it'll automatically let you win, and that's a glitch. But do I think it's worthy of a retrospective? You never know. It might get mentioned, but yeah, not every glitch in every game is worth noting. But if we happen to come across it, and it just makes its way into the script, then it will. But yeah, some glitches were definitely worse than others, and are definitely worth noting. So you can count on us talking about glitches and all of that stuff when we come to them. Granted, if we haven't seen them, if we haven't run into them, we might miss them entirely, but if we have heard of them or we've seen them elsewhere, or if you guys let us know about them, then odds are we probably will talk about them, but you can count on us to cover everything. Well, guys, as for questions right now, that's kind of all we had on the list. But if any of you have any more questions that you want answered, or if you want to send us any sort of materials that you think we might need for a certain episode, by all means, we're willing to take any help that we can on it. We're pretty knowledgeable, and we know how to do it. We know how to get the job done. But if you guys want to help at all, we do not mind. If you want to comment below, or send messages, or send emails to the website talking about the retrospective, we will definitely get back to you as quickly as possible. And we will see you on the show. And thank you guys so much for watching it. I know Gina's very happy about it with all of you, and I know the rest of the members, Nate and Clayton, are definitely happy for it. You know I am. You don't need me to tell you. But again, thank you guys so much. You guys make it that much fun to work on. So look forward to the Tales of Retrospective and Tales of Destiny.